Good morning to you all as you tune in to what God is doing. Jill, today, and I want to tell you all today, is a moment in time that we never saw coming. Not like this. And our goal today, my friend, is to help you deal with this uncertainty. Help you to deal with anxiety. And help people to put what's going on into good morning, welcome. Into good morning, Facebook, welcome. Good morning, Periscope, welcome. To help you put some things into proper perspective. My prayer has been over the last, few weeks is, God, what should our response be? What is our response in this season? And I said, you have to tell me, well, how do we respond in this season? And I had to test the spirits by the spirits. Welcome. And find out what's going on. What's happening. And in me trying to figure that out, I said, God, what do we do? How do we help somebody in this season? And I believe that what we're about to share is a part of giving you some encouragement.
In truth?
In truth.
It's all encouragement.
In truth.
People don't like
right. And it's in truth. And so, Father, bless what we're about to share. Help us, Father, not to lose it, but to keep it together as you begin to grow us into something beautiful. I thank you for this season in the sense that you're causing all of us to check in. And I'm thankful that I have my Creator to check into. Now, Father, bring comfort to the parents. Bring comfort to the families. Bring comfort. In Jesus' name, amen. Jill, people are, including myself, so let me talk about me. I was struggling in one season of my life, excuse me, to find, solid ground. Because when you have experienced certain things, you want everything to be certain, everything to be solid, so that you can manipulate it, move it, grab it, see it, and know what's going on. And I had to learn, how do I embrace the unknown? How do I walk into the unknown and still be at peace and at one with myself? How do I do that? And I realized that many of us, including myself, we believe that we need certainty and security. We believe that we need certainty and security, and that if we don't have one or the other or both, then we don't have life. But when you don't have certainty or security, you do have life. Go ahead.
Absolutely. And part of this message, right, Deron, I think the name of it was
Walking
on Groundless Water. And because as if there's nothing underneath us. But this is why in the spiritual realm. Because listen, all of this, all of what you see is a manifestation of. There's a message. There's a message in all of this. Mm-hmm. In me being in flesh, Deron being in flesh, there's some purpose of God connected to all of this. Right. Us. I'm not talking about Corona at this point, but us. But here's the deal, Deron. The reason why, as believers, and those who live as if there is a creator, mm-hmm. and we are the creation, then God has already provided us with these words. It's never groundless to you because you have a foundation. Right. You have a spiritual foundation. You have a rock that is spiritual, mm-hmm. a rock that is invisible. So he could tell Peter when Peter went to walk on water, mm-hmm. right? And he summoned Peter to come to him. And Peter, what were they walking on? If that wasn't groundless, right? What were they walking on? As the story says, that wasn't groundless. But what did he tell Peter? You took your eye. You forgot. You lost sight of something. Mm-hmm. See, this is going to be groundless to the physical, no doubt about it, because of the uncertainty. Mm-hmm. To the physical, to the spiritual. If you don't lose sight of the foundation of this thing, what's the foundational stone? Baptism. The function of baptism. I'm not talking about the right. physical, the form right. of baptism. Mm-hmm. The function of baptism is a watery grave.
Right. That's it.
The function of baptism is that someone else took a level of suffering for me, mm-hmm. but I don't get to not suffer. I don't get to not go through. I think Jesus' disciples said to him, talked about the cup he was going to drink. He said, oh, you can't drink this cup. You don't even want to drink this cup. But you will drink a cup, and then one day you will drink this cup. What is it? The cup of suffering? Yeah. The cup of affliction? One day you will. You will. But at that moment, they wasn't. But what's the bottom line? The foundation, if you have a foundation, and this is why, listen, this is why it's so important for an adversary to feed you spiritual Twinkies. What's that? No nutrients. Right. Sweet though. Sweet, tasty, probably even addictive.
Right. You make me want one now.
But this is why someone will want to give that to you, so that when these time comes, your mm-hmm. foundation is not on the rock. Right. Your foundation is on foolishness or wisdom of man instead of the wisdom of God.
Right. Listen. This season is here, and what I am perceiving is that it's going to show us life is unceaselessly changing. It's going up and down. Life is like a roller coaster. It goes up and down. And when your life is going up and down and ceaselessly changing, meaning every time you look around, there's a change, 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 there's a change. Every time you look around and do that, you realize that when you are in that season, there ain't nothing unchanging to hold on to. That's why it's uncertainty. Go ahead.
Because it's not the way of real life. Listen, the Pharisees, Sadducees, whoever the teachers of the law, the leaders during Jesus' time, when they saw him doing something on the Sabbath, right? They said they criticized him for it. You know what he said? Right. My Father works every day. Right. Every day. You know that means every day he's moving. How do you know? How do you know? Even when you sleep, you're breathing. Mm-hmm. There's no such thing as, what was that thing? Ceaselessly
unchanging.
Ceaselessly changing.
Changing, yeah.
Absolutely. If you only inhaled and didn't exhale constantly, you would not be alive. Right. So what you get to see is this thing about change. This is what our Father's been trying to introduce us to, his way. Right. Not the way of the flesh, not the way of the world, not the natural way only. This natural way is simply a manifestation of something he's trying to get you to see. Right. Because you are in this natural world, so you have to be taught and instructed by natural things. But these natural things, they are the form, they're not the function. Right. Form follows function. We're trying to get to the essence. the function of it. And once you get there, you're at the spirit. That's why the law kills and the spirit gives life. And that's why you can give a law that is concrete, and then God will come back and say, but what is the spirit of that law that's always moving and changing to fit situations? Because I'm not a religion. God is not a religion. This is not religion.
Right.
This is not formula. And because man has been able to walk this in a way of formula and predict and use science, science is good because science helps us discover, and these are some brilliant people created by God, even if they don't claim they are. Right. I claim that you are, and I still thank you for bringing your brilliance to the table for the rest of us to see, because that is how you glorify God, even though you don't say it with your mouth. You are glorifying God every time you walk in your best for whoever's going to discover the vaccine for corona. Guess what? God is calling everybody. This moment is calling everybody to something. But what's the bottom line? I don't have to worry about things changing. I don't even have to entertain that, because if my breath stops moving, I don't live.
Right.
Even when you sleep, your body is replenishing itself. It never stops.
Right.
It rests, but it never ceases. And if you can embrace that and put that in your heart to know that when change comes, listen, this is just a part of who you are. It's just a part of who you are. And if you need more breath or more something from the Father so that you can get through this, you can get it too. Get that too. But what happens if you're not open to change because you're afraid of change? You're afraid of not knowing what's going to happen next. Your kids are constantly showing you that you can't decide what their life going to be until the day they die.
Right.
Now, a long time ago, guess what? People decided who gonna marry who.
Right.
Who. That was decided for folks. But as we get more and more liberated as a people, it causes us to do more and more and more to grab onto God's unchanging hand. Mm-hmm. But for us, that's different, because God understands that change that we're talking about and the change that He's talking about is not the same.
Listen, when everyone goes to zero, and where we are right now, God is causing people. We have never experienced a moment like this in our life. Everyone. This is bigger than 9/11. Mm-hmm. And 9/11 was tragic. Mm-hmm. This is bigger than that. Mm-hmm. This is where He has gotten everybody's attention. Mm-hmm. Whether they know He has gotten it or not. Mm-hmm. He's gotten our attention, mm-hmm. and He's getting the attention. And there were some who know that He exists. Mm-hmm. But they was doing their own thing. Mm-hmm. But they checking in now. Mm-hmm. At least I hope they are. And so this thing is about faith. This is about activating your faith. Listen, where you are right now, you did not know you would be 10 years ago, mm-hmm. 5 years ago, mm-hmm. last week. You did not know. You had to live into the unknown and allow it to unfold. Well, if you don't activate your faith, you're going to try to do something to escape from this groundlessness, and you can't. It's a feeling of, I don't know what's going on, and I'm not sure, and I'm not understanding, and what can I do? Nothing's within my power to do. What can I say? I don't know what to do. And then you have to live in that space and find peace.
Absolutely. And what does that mean? What will we do? We go find something secure, something familiar. Mm-hmm. And what if that familiar thing is the very thing that you need to be confronted with, so that you can trust the Lord in the area? Some people, you run to depression. Some people might run to eating. Mm-hmm. Some people may run to arguing. These are some things that when you feel like out of control, we know that anger makes us feel like we're in control. That's what the whole bully spirit is about.
Right.
Is that a bully feels like they're out of control, so they go and try to control everybody. So, we do run to safe places. But instead of running to security, this is, if you can see what the Spirit is really trying to say to us, instead of running security, we sit and we embrace possibility.
Right.
You want to change. Did you want to be a 2-year-old still? Did you still want to be pooping on yourself in your diaper? Mm-hmm. Did you want to change? Didn't you want to learn how to control your bowels? Didn't you want to realize at some point you had bowels? Didn't you want to learn how to make decisions that at this age that you weren't making when you're younger? So the truth is, we like change.
Right.
And we like growth. It's our flesh. Our spirit is willing. It's our flesh that's weak. And if you can know that about yourself and not just, the blame game and think about somebody else's flesh, your spirit is willing because God made you that well. That well, that your spirit will be willing, and your spirit hears his voice and knows his voice. But it's your flesh that's weak and puts up a fight.
And you got to be able to handle, my prayer is that you are able, one, to admit you're afraid, if you are, and then handle it. And when I say handle it, you got to know what fear smells like. You get it?
Absolutely. You have to recognize it. How many people know that if you don't recognize certain things, and like I said, remember, this is natural place. Move over a little bit. It's
that way.
Your body. There we go.
Okay.
It's a spiritual. It's a manifestation of some other things. Of what's going on inside. Everybody know that when a woman's belly starts to swell, it's because there is a seed on the inside of her that's growing, even though you can't see any of the form of that seed. The function is already there. You can't see the nose, the eyes, you can't see. But there is life inside of that. And so it's the same thing with fear. Fear, you have to admit and not embrace it as in let it lead you. I talked about this the other day, and I got this from the scriptures and a book. But the bottom line is, listen, you can let fear has some good. Fear is good when you're being chased by a bear. And fear tells you, get out of there. Fear is good when there's a certain kind of danger. So we don't never want to be without our fear. So while fear won't leave me, it can't lead me. Now that's my choice. I won't let it lead me. And there are times when my fears led me into arguing. It led me into blaming. It led me into being destructive. In the name of, I don't like this fear, I'm out of control. Fear is not just with me, but is now leading me, and I'm out of control.
That's it. And listen, you all, you have to understand that you can find peace in the midst of your storms. You cannot. I got so disturbed. 3 weeks ago, I got so disturbed by what I was seeing and experiencing. I said, what's happening? And God says, right, God says, you know how to handle this. You know what needs to be done.
I have laid a foundation.
Right.
I have laid a foundation. The Christ came, we got a written word in terms of an expression. What did it say? Jesus was the essence, the expression of God.
Right.
So God has shown us, expressed himself in human form.
Right.
So that we can walk out trouble. We have examples of different things so that we would have a foundation.
Right.
No one promised you. What Jesus said to his disciples, right? He said, listen, there will be wars and rumors of wars. And he said a few other things, but how did he cap that? But but it's he who stands firm to the end. So what is he saying? Don't you fall away because of this. There will be wars, not just wars and rumors of wars. But because you're not trying to save this life right here.
Right.
Because you're not working on this life, and this is not the life that's truly life. Because you're not working on that, this is not going to do to you what it may do to some others. Because when they lose their money, this is the part about the Job story I like. Job, the story, lost money, friends didn't understand him, children, family, he lost all that. And if you read it, you don't see in the whole book of Job that he's trying to get his stuff back.
Yep. He's
saying, God, I was living for you, and I need a conversation with you. Now, what we know, what's the real story? Another chunk piece about the story of Job. God was doing a new thing in Job's life,
right?
And this is the way sometimes all the things we have in our relationships, they become obstacles to God doing a new thing in our lives.
Right. And one of the things, if you're going to find peace in storms, you have to accept that life is about ups and downs. And your life consists of how you respond to your suffering, how you respond to the downs. How do you respond when your back is against the wall? How do you respond? And so you don't react, you respond. When you respond, you're thinking about it. When you react, it's just instinctive.
Absolutely. And listen, your response let me know what foundation you stand on. What was your foundation? So Job's response, naked I came into the world, naked I leave. See, that response shows what he believes. Jesus being challenged, he said to his disciples, he said to Pilate, this is why I came into the world. So when he was with challenged with things changing, challenged with life, like the ups and the downs, or at that point it was the downs. Right. And someone tried to kind of pull him, get to his human side. Right. That's what he told Peter. Peter, you're not interested in things of God. You're interested in things of man right now. When you're talking to me. And so he had to call that Satan because or the adversary, because he understood, if I let this go any further, it's going to take me somewhere. But what do we know? What's your response during this time? And if your response doesn't meet who you believe that you were, then don't condemn yourself. Right. Just accept the fact that you listen. Peter said, I would never ever betray you, even if all these Bama's do it. I'm there. Jesus had to tell him, listen, right now I know you believe you're ready for all this because the pressure ain't on yet. Right. And when we're outside of the trouble, we can talk about all the things that we think we can do until that moment came. I heard people say all the time, I don't want him. I want him out of my life. Then see him walking down the street with another woman 6 months later and flip their wig. I thought you didn't want him. What's up? So guess what? And it's not that you didn't. You just have. This is how we learn. Right. Sometimes we learn that we sell tickets a little more expensive than what we're able to purchase, and that's not condemnation. That is opportunity to get to that you see yourself as, right, even though you weren't really there. So your response will reveal what you really truly believe and who you believe in or what you believe in.
I'm thinking about how, when you're talking, I thought I had to make a decision, and if y'all know me, listen. If you listened to me before or heard us, listen. We are pleading for you to be able to check into your own spirit and check in with God, because when I was faced with some major trials in my life, health trials, you name it, I had to make a decision, Jill. And I have to have the mindset, this is going to work out for my good. This is going to work for my good. I'm not going to fear the moment. I'm going to get into the moment. But this is going to work for my good. And so ups and downs work, and Romans 8:28 says, and we know with great confidence that God, who is deeply concerned about us, causes all things to work together as a plan for the good of those who love God, to those who are called according to his plan and purpose.
That's it.
And so it says, for those he foreknew and loved and chose beforehand, he also predestined to be conformed to the image of his son and ultimately share in his complete sanctification.
All right, now,
listen,
that's huge.
Go ahead. Why you say it's huge? No, listen. I know that this season is about sanctification. And this is about God helping you burn out the dross that's in your life and getting you to pure gold. Gold in you, your life being golden. Well, you got to get to a point where you understand, God, sanctify me. Wash me with this trial. Wash me and let me know that you are going to come through for me.
Right.
You want to keep reading or you want to?
No, I wanted to share something.
Go ahead.
And so, listen to what this said. It said that verse 29 said, this is amplified, right, Deron? For those whom he foreknew and loved and chose beforehand, he also predestined to be conformed to the image of his son. So you already know what direction he's taking you in. Right. And ultimately share in his complete sanctification. You know how we sanctified by the truth. You know why it would say complete sanctification? Because it was because of suffering. He learned obedience through suffering.
Right.
See, right now, some of us going to learn obedience. We just talked to David, who's one of the guys who helps do the video department. And yesterday, he and Deron was working on stuff for 4 hours. At least 4 hours. Then early this morning, you were up again, and everything was running just right. 5 minutes before we were going to go on, it just froze. Everything just froze. And David, who is a professional at this is somebody who got credentials. Rocky, who has credentials. These are not your folks who just was playing with something.
Right.
No, this is what they do for a living.
Right.
They have production companies.
Right.
And this what David said, I'm just gonna bow my knee.
He said, we are bowing our knee, and we are being made to bow our knees to what's going on. And
so from this it says that what is God's point? To conform you into the image of His Son.
Right.
That means that's not who we are right now. That's who we're becoming. That's a flow and a flux. And then he says again, and to ultimately share in His complete sanctification. So that He will be the firstborn. So how do we share in His complete sanctification? Ups and the downs, the storms of life. All of these things cleanse us and wash us and make us confront some things in ourselves that, and I wrote in my thing that we're sanctified by the truth, but this is the truth that leads us into all truth. Why do we have to be told that the Spirit leads us into all truth? Because we can't get there on our own. I always think about Deron, I always think about what Will does. Will's a trainer, right? And I always think about the fact that there's a different results. There are different results from people who Facebook went off.
Just keep on. Take off.
There are different results from people who go work out themselves versus one that has somebody to push them, because that person helped you get to that space where you might be very comfortable and decide what you are and are not going to do. And so this sanctification, this truth, what does it say about what God would do? It is able to get to separate bone and marrow.
Right.
Is that level of truth.
Right. And
this is that level of truth. It's bone and marrow to get way down into the space we can get to. And so hopefully, we will get to the place where we'll see the kind of sanctification God is talking about is something eternal that changes and doesn't allow any kind of germ or virus or something that would prevent you from finishing what you came here to do. God will not sit and allow that to be in there.
Listen, I'm going to make a statement. Facebook is cut off twice now. I was going to say, you've got to handle the extremes. You got to handle the smiles and the cries. You got to be able to handle them both. And you got to be able to understand they will come together. When you got to be able to handle life and death, light and dark, love and hate, and Frankie Beverly, joy and pain. You've got to be able to find your center in the midst of the storms. You got to be able to find what you're going through in the midst of the storms. And when you're able to handle each one, we practiced. I didn't know it was 4 hours. I worked on this, and then I had to let it go immediately. I didn't think about it till you just said it again. It doesn't matter. It is just now make the adjustment, man. And so I done got up twice to make this thing go because I've got to handle the smiles and the cries. Now, one of my favorite movies was and is, Denzel Washington when he played the gangster. I can't remember. Training Day. And one of the lines said, you got to be able to handle smiles and cries. That's coming from light and dark, love and hate, joy. And Frankie Beverly, one of the original prophets of R&B, said, joy and pain like sunshine and rain. Listen, you can't have one without the other. And so unless you can handle the extremes, you don't understand. There can be no warmth if there's no knowledge of cold. You don't know what it feels to be warm if there's no knowledge of cold. You don't know what it means to be home if you have not understood what it meant to not have a home, to not have be challenged in a certain way. And so you have to understand that if you can accept this, then you can get into possibility. The moment you can accept the joy and the pain, you can get into possibility. Why? Because it's balance. It's almost like in Spanish with a yin and yang. You've got to be.
That's not Spanish, though. Go ahead.
Oh, did I say Spanish?
You did.
All right. In Chinese, yin and yang. You've got to be able to find your peace and your center. Go ahead, babes.
Yeah, I was looking at John chapter 4, right? And verse 23, and it says this, after Jesus was talking to a woman, and he says this, but a time is coming and is already here when the true worshipers will worship the Father in spirit, from the heart, the inner self, and in truth.
Right.
For the Father seeks such people to be his worshipers.
Right.
God is spirit, the source of life, yet invisible to mankind. And those who worship him must worship him in spirit and truth. You know what this means? We must worship God in God's reality, in the reality of joy and pain. Like, listen, you know, folks want to live forever, but we know nobody has done it in the terms of in this flesh right here. And folks are doing all kinds of things. Facelifts.
You name it.
Butt lift, breath lift. Men getting lifts. I heard men wearing wigs now. Not toupees, because I eat and some young adults told me that. We went to a concert and they said, oh, no. Now, I'm not saying it to shame anybody. I'm just telling you, listen, we trying to get to that fountain of youth.
Right.
Okay. But what's God's reality? You know this gonna come to an end, right? I mean, listen, pile it on. Go on. Take your ribs out. Take your ribs out so you always have a curve. Go on. But you know this is gonna end someday.
Take
right?
your what out?
People have ribs.
Oh, ribs. Okay, I got you. Oh, wow.
So there's all kinds of things we do to just try to hold back what looks like that life and death experience, the death side of the experience. But again, what is our goal here? What are we supposed to be doing? To the kind of worshipers that are the true worshipers and the worshipers that the Father seeks, they worship him in spirit and in truth. What is that truth? Reality.
Right.
Reality. And this is the thing that we seem to not get. That right now we're getting a dose of reality. And
your prayer has to be, please help me to handle reality and stay in it and not run from it. That's what it's about.
And not come up with that stuff. Right? I had a friend to say to me, talking about someone, I don't know who somebody, and she was doing an Uber, and someone in her car talked to about Corona, and said, but we believers, you know, God has us protected. Okay. I said, so you believe out of all those people that passed, none of them was believers? Right. See, we got to stop that. We have to stop believing that God is protecting what we care about. Right. No. It doesn't mean that this person wasn't great, that God didn't love this person, because they left this natural world behind. Right. And their families, of course, rightfully so, will feel a certain way. But we keep pulling out those plastic utensils, calling them swords. Listen. There's no guarantee. There is no guarantee that we all survive this virus. So everybody listening, or any of us, who knows? There are some great people who passed. People who was helping people. They were doing great things in the earth. And this Corona took them out. But the Corona doesn't have the victory over them. You know why Corona don't have the victory over them? Because of what they left here. Right. This is why we do what we're supposed to do when we have to do it, because we never know when we have to meet an enemy that is not on our time clock, and who we get to tell, this enemy, come see me when I'm about 99 years old, because that's how long I want to live. We don't get that. But guess what? These people haven't lost the victory. Right. Not at all. But we have lost some human lives. Right. And we have to stop. I'm going to finish in a second. And we have to stop. Avoid trying to comfort ourselves, right, by positioning ourselves into some elite place. And the way we deal with fear is say, God got me, and that may happen to them. It's not gonna happen to me. That ain't the foundation of the Lord. Spirit and reality. Somebody told me one time, well, you know, God's blessing is everybody should live to 70. I said, well, Jesus lived to 30 something. Was he cursed?
Right.
I mean, what are we saying here? Y'all stop listening to that nonsense. Get into the spirit of the world and let it be your foundation that you live on. So when you're met with these kind of days right here, you don't believe, you understand what the victory is. As Paul would say, I press forward, I kept my eye on the prize. What's the prize? The prize isn't that I live to 99. The prize isn't that I live in a certain kind of home. That's not the prize. The prize is that when I leave here, that I was a light into this world and I lit this joint up. That is the prize. Right. And when I return to God, I don't return to God with darkness. I return to God, or my spirit returns to God having completed the task of replenishing this earth, restoring, renewing, all the things that our wonderful Father wants to do. That's the foundation, and that's the true victory.
And listen, Mayor Bowser, is it Bowser? Marion Bowser of Washington, D.C. I don't know the mayor of Michigan, a female. Also Brooks, she's county exec. They had to put out a letter yesterday. One here in Maryland, the county exec had to put out a letter that the coach at Northwestern had passed. He was well loved. He was a good man. And he's gone. And I watched each one of these warriors, these women, talk about this. And because I am an emotional person and I am a person, they call me an empath.
Short for empathy. I watched them as she had to tell people the truth and deal with the truth. Direct on, not sugarcoat it, not say anything. And she had to keep it together while she was announcing and telling what was going on. Yes. And God was saying, He's putting us in spaces. Nurses are being put in situations where they are going home every day crying when they get off from work. Right. But they have to handle their shift that they're in, meaning the work shift that they're on, but you also have to be able to handle these shift storms, SHIFT storms. You have to be able to handle the shift storms that come your way that cause you to have to make immediate adjustments. It causes you to have to decide, all right, what am I going to be now while I'm in this space? Absolutely.
Who am I going to be when I'm in this space? And you can't kick back against the universe saying, oh, I'm calling you to another level now. I'm calling you to accept some things. And so if you're not careful, you won't handle the shift storms of life despite of it, and you will mess around and try to stand off and say, I'm not paying attention to that. Don't be a fool. God is here, and he's humbling us all. He's humbling us, and he's growing us. He's growing us, and he's introducing us to the selves that we don't know, we haven't discovered yet, to that something that's stronger and better in the spiritual realm. But when you were talking, I thought about the story of Jonah. And Jonah was in the belly, they would say the belly of a fish, but let's say in a dark place. Right? Bottom line, it was a dark place. And I want you all, when we're done today, I want you to go and pay close attention to what happened in that dark space with Jonah. It wasn't Jonah was doing all that. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. You know. And then he got into this dark place, and he got to sit into this dark place for at least 3 days. 3 days, as we know, 3 days. But while he was in there, I want you to hear this. He made a vow. He talked about. I'll look it up later. But read it. And he talked about the grace that you forfeit. When you don't allow what I'm going to say, these changes in your life. But he made a vow, and it wasn't until he prayed while in the belly. He prayed in that dark space,
And he went back and he said, I'm going to keep my vows. You know what that meant? He had made some vows to God. He had said that he was going to do certain things, and then for whatever reason, maybe changed his mind because of pressure. Some people change their mind because the living got so good, right? The living got so good, the houses got so big, the cars got so nice, it got so sweet that when God came, when life came to tug on some of that stuff, we start fighting for stuff instead of fighting the good fight of faith. And so, but what am I saying? During this time right here, it's going to come a time where we're going to have to make some vows. You have to make some vows. Let me rephrase that. The people who make vows will come out that darkness a certain way.
Right.
Once Jonah said he would keep his vows, he came out of darkness a certain way. The other thing I talked about earlier, the earlier service, is the story of Job. Guess what? Pay attention to these manifestation of messages that God is trying to give us. What's one of the messages in the book of Job? Job had stuff. He got stuff the righteous way. Then he got challenged. He's going to be taken into a new place that he knows nothing about. And all he knows how to do is fight for what he understood was righteous. But that servant there, let me tell you, read the whole thing of Job, and you know what you're not going to see him fight for? His stuff.
That's it.
He fought for his relationship with God. I don't understand why this is happening based on my level of belief.
Right.
I don't understand why I'm in this space when I done checked all the boxes that I was supposed to check. But at some point in chapter 38, 39 somewhere, maybe 32, 38 and 39 somewhere, Job had to say, you know what, I spoke of things I didn't understand. See, there's something you don't understand right now.
Right.
You don't understand that God is doing a new thing. You don't understand it. He said, I'm doing a new thing, and you can't perceive it. It's not even anywhere in your mind. It has to come to you now. It has nothing to do with anything you've ever done.
Right.
It's a very new thing. And if we're not open to change and open to not being in control, then we can't receive those very new things that elevate our spirit in the Lord, because that's what this is going to really be about.
And I said that last night, and I want to add to what you're saying. And now he says, behold, I do a new thing. A new thing don't mean you're going to be excited.
Right.
A new thing don't mean that he's going to give you some shiny stuff. He says, behold, I'm doing a new thing in your life. Will you not be aware of it? Will you not see? I'm trying to change you, Deron. I'm trying to speak to you. I'll never forget, I stood on the front porch of my home right here, and I looked at our yard, and I was going through, and I said, is this what they go through? Because I had gone a long period without suffering.
Come on now.
I had a long period of no losses. And I became accustomed and felt entitled to it. And when the trial came my way, I looked at my yard and I said, is this what they go through? I was like, is this what the people I've been ministering to go through? And I've been telling them to get over or get through this? Is this what they go through? And he says, I'm showing you. We will all have to face life and death.
And Deron, what we have been fortunate with over the years, if you all who know us, Deron, you had an aneurysm. Okay, guess what? An aneurysm, the odds were way against him, right? Then you got up from that. Got up, came back. They told you that you would walk with a limp back then. There was no limp. They told you that your recovery was going to take a long, long time. It didn't take as long as they said it was going to take. So guess what we were accustomed to? We were accustomed to things happening and then going back to normal.
Right.
Going back to normal. Then 2016 happened. 2017 happened. And guess what? I'm just waiting. Okay, well, here come that way. Here come that thing that God does. Just get ready to come back my way. But I tell you what did happen. I had to accept that God is sovereign. I cried. I was sick. I was anxious. I was scared. I wasn't used to being that way. Because why wasn't I used to being that way? Because I was only dealing with things that were in my power to control.
Right.
But now with this, listen, this is my lover, my friend, my partner in in ministry. So all kinds of securities were being threatened for me. All kinds of securities. And I cried, and I kept hoping that it was just going to disappear. It disappeared for other people. Why won't it disappear for us? Until I had to live on the scriptures. God, your grace is sufficient. Let your will be done. I bow to you. You are the sovereign God. You get to say so. I don't like it. And that's where I had to start. God, I don't like it. And I'm scared. And I had to admit all of those truths right there. I had to make the truth. And I couldn't come out like the faith person I knew. Because in this area, faith was being built in this area. I could only take what I had from before. But I couldn't use it the same way. I lost control of this life as I knew it. As I knew it. But what can I tell you today? I can talk like this right now because for 3 years I had to deal with what I couldn't control.
Right.
I had to deal with what I couldn't change. And so guess what I did? I leaned in. Deron, you do it this way. What is God showing me today? He's still here. We're still doing what God called us to do. It changed. It was difficult, but God knows it's not impossible. It just means that you step up here, I step up there, we lean, and we find a way to be present in our right now life. Right now. But what I decided that I had to tell this flesh, bow down. Bow down. You drive me crazy. And that's how I felt. I felt like I could lose it. And I did not want life and take me, Lord, without saying out my mouth. Said, no. See, Jill, which wouldn't happen for a long time. You haven't had to live as if I'm sovereign.
Yeah.
You haven't lived. You haven't suffered. You haven't had to be that far out of control. And then have the same thoughts that attack everybody else. What if he comes? What if that happen? What if this don't happen? All of these threats you were getting. I felt every one of them in the deepest part of my body.
Right.
But guess what? It may have been a groundless walk on water, but I was not without foundation.
Right.
And here's the foundation. Father, I gave my life. I said that this is your life to use and express yourself through the best that I know how.
Right.
And so, guess what, dead man? You got too much of an impulse, Jill.
Yeah.
So I had to check in, and there was nothing anybody could do. Why? Because God was doing a new thing in my life. He was making himself much bigger and truer than what I was. So he had to come in and he had to shine light in an area where I had neglected.
He had to bring the light into our lives. I remember laying in that hospital bed with you in 16 or 17, whenever it was, maybe 17. And we had to pray. And I realized at that moment, this is real, man.
I'm trying to tell you.
I said, this is real. Because she had to hug me while I was in the bed. Because I was shaking violently. And I said, this is real. And God had to say, I'm real and I'm with you. And that's when I realized you can't have religion. Religion don't help you in this season.
I'm trying to tell you.
You got to have a relationship, not religion. Religion cannot save you. It can give you some peace so you think. But we had to have faith. And we had to realize we were saved by the grace of God. That God's grace and his favor would come. And I had to say, God, I need your favor. And every since then, I told you just yesterday, I can see where my steps have been ordered. Mm-hmm. Our steps have been ordered.
Mm-hmm. But listen, Deron, listen. Jesus in the kind of trial that we're talking about with you and I, guess what he said? Can you remove this cup?
Yeah.
Can you remove this cup? Listen, even the best of them. The cup of suffering is what Hebrews would have called it, just like they would call it the bread of suffering, but of affliction.
Yeah. Can
you remove this cup? This particular cup, Jesus would say. Can you remove this cup? What did he follow that with? but not my will. Your will be done. If anybody could attest to this, and they don't have to, but they'll know it if they hear it. When I sign off, if I send something, I would say, see you soon, God willing.
Yes.
God willing. You know why? Because I began to live like I can guarantee you that I'm gonna see you tomorrow. And I said, no. That's how I got far away from your sovereignty.
Yes.
Because I wasn't talking as if it's your will. And so hopefully, God, I'll be strong enough to face life as you see it, be open to everything and attached to nothing, so that I can move forward in the kind of power and the strength that you would want me to move in. Mm-hmm. I pray that will happen. And I pray that one day, rather than being on the cross, on my execution stake, whatever it is, in agony, mm-hmm. that my last words to you would be, it is finished. You know what it means? It is completed. That I will complete what I can do. It ain't about numbers. And I know I'm saying this for my human side. And if you challenge me with numbers, I'm going to act like any other human. I'm talking from the realities of the spirit. No. Will it be finished? This is all. This is the only thing we have control over, is whether we're going to finish the task. The rest of it, how the task go, whether people are going to be obstacles, how people are going to deal with us, whether people are going to be nice, whether people are going to accept us, our gifts, we don't have control over that. What we do have control over is our own response. Mm-hmm. Our own response. And what will your response be? I pray that I won't be that I got a few more things to do and I got 5 minutes left on this earth. I pray that I'm able to say, God, I did my best.
Right.
And I pray that I served you. Right. In spirit and in truth. And I pray that I died to all the things that you asked me to die to, and I surrendered all that you asked me to surrender, and that my pride did not keep me. And I challenged myself, and I carried my execution stake. Nobody has to keep busting me out. God, you speak to us privately before we have to get a public rebuke. Right. You speak to us privately, but we ignore you. We ignore you. And because we ignore you, you got to come in strong. So guess what? Restoration, renewal, all of those wonderful things, that's God's in all. But it doesn't always feel great. It doesn't always feel great. But it always has the same end and the same purpose. That is to lead us back to God, and to return us to the life that we lost, because this flesh got us out of the way. Capital W-A-Y.
God had told me to change my diet. I didn't know what was coming my way. Mm-hmm. He had told me to change my diet and change what I eat. And I love the Houston Hawaiian steak from the Houston Hawaiian. Mm-hmm. I would go there once every 2 months or so or whatever. And it was a treat. Mm-hmm. Boston baked beans, cream spinach. I love my cheese, everything. And God spoke to me. Remember, because we would walk and my heart would hurt and I'd have to put my hands above my head. Mm-hmm. You haven't seen me do that
in years.
In years. Because I had angina. There was something going on in my heart because of my being overweight, eating, and food was my lover, my second love. And I heard, after taking a test online to determine my age, I said, God, the truth is here.
All right, they told you what they told you.
They told me, although I was 42, 43, no, I was about 43, they said, you have the body of a 70-year-old. Because I had to answer all these different questions about my family history and everything. And I knew what they were saying was true because, one, I had not even faced those truths before. Mm-hmm. We think we're going to just overcome stuff without paying attention to it. And so I had to change my diet. And I chose that day, I did battle with macaroni and cheese. And I said, and that was the thing that I said, so I'm not going to be having any more mac and cheese. And I had to face that harsh reality. If I want to be here, I've got to believe that God's grace has blessed me to take this exam.
Listen, and I didn't bring this up Deron, I talked about this last night. Listen, whatever you eat, whatever you're eating, whatever it ate, can contaminate your body. This is why certain folks eat kosher. We know, if you go read the articles about the coronavirus and where it came from, then somebody's going to tell you, don't believe that article where somebody said a woman ate bat soup. Because that particular video that she did, that particular video that she did was done in 2016. So that wasn't something that she just did. But here's what some of the experts are saying about China. That in an open market, all kinds of foods were being meats, seafood, all of those things were being sold in an open market. Well, in an open market where snakes' meat can be eaten too. Because culturally, people eat different things different than what we would eat. And the story is that, so this is how the article read. A bat affected the snake because the snake ate the bat. Then the snake affected fish or other food in that market because there was some type of contaminated meat. And in those cultures and in those places, no one has to. This is why when you see the videos about how when the inspectors are going to farms and they're going to people who process meat and grow animals, they go to see how clean it is. That's why you shouldn't eat pigs, because you know what pigs eat. So I don't care how they know kosher pig. Listen, they can be kosher goat. They can be kosher sheep. There's no such thing as a kosher pig, because pigs eat garbage. This is why. What is crabs? I know this is gonna hurt a little bit. Crab, shrimp, and certain things without fins. They are called the swine of the sea. Right. Scavengers, because they just eat stuff. So I'm not talking about people being vegetarian, because I'm not one. Okay, I'm not one. I am talking about if you're going to do it, eat kosher. So I'm going back to what Deron said when you was eating the Houston Hawaiian. Mm-hmm. When you eat, when people are dealing with these animals, even if you choose to eat them, I'm not judging that. These animals, well, however these animals were brought up, it's going to make a difference to your system. If they was fed something, it's going to make a difference to your system. So right now, we're in a pandemic because of possible uncleanliness, because the bat got the snake and the snake got the other meat and the other meat got the human being. Now the human being getting other human beings, and now we're in a pandemic. So if you're going to do it and you're going to eat, if you're going to eat meat, go kosher. Go kosher. Mm-hmm. Go kosher. Storyline, they'll deliver and everything. Go kosher if you're going to do it. But the bottom line is, what you become what you eat. Right. And I won't get into that because I got a whole teaching on that that I'll do why Jesus said eat my flesh and drink my blood. That's all connected to that somewhere, but I'm not going to talk about that today.
Well, I'll just say this. I still smell meat and want it. Mm-hmm. It's still, when I drive past a barbecue or something, I'd be like, man, I would love. But I had to confront the truth. And that was, I didn't like who I became when my system kept trying to digest it.
I'm trying to.
And I didn't like what it did to me in the fatigue. Mm-hmm. God challenged me when I went to Cancer Center Treatments of America. And he challenged me in a way where I remember I bought 3 burgers in one day. I was trying to eat the pain away. And I was doing what I could, and not one of the burgers did anything for me. Because food had to do things for me. Mm-hmm. And then that's when I realized I've got to change. Mm-hmm. And he told me, remember I told you, I said, Jill, I got to do this and work. I got some work to do. We talked one evening. I was in Chicago, and I said, "There's two opinions on the table. One is life, and one is death. And I must change my thought process. And when I got work to do, and I made the choice to obey and heed the favor of God that He was showing me some truths about myself."
And listen, this is training day for us, piggybacking on what you said. Because guess what? During this time, even if I ran out because I had to run to CVS or do something like that, I ain't eating out. You couldn't take me to the best restaurant right now. No one else can cook food for me right now. You know what? You know what God used to say to me? "See, daughter, I told you could do it. You thought you couldn't do it. You just need the right reason to do it." See, you think you can't do things, but this is going to give you the right reason to get along with your children, to get along with your spouse, to not make a big deal out of small things.
Right.
This situation is going to show you that you are built better than how you've been carrying yourself. So guess what? This one here didn't want to cook every day. Let me tell you, yes, I will too. Because I can't let somebody do it for me. Not right now. And maybe I'll never go back to that. I doubt it. I'm almost sure I would if I thought it was better. But I'll tell you this, it would have to be kosher. There's some things I'm telling myself, oh, you're not going back to. So as we learn to live with this reality that we thought was too much for us, and God shows us that we have built a whole lot better than we thought, I hope you sit back and say, "God, I thank you." I tell you, Father, I thank you that you love me enough to show me that I didn't have to be a slave to anything. And it took me to be shut down and not to be able to do it and to care about, to value something enough to allow myself to be challenged and let a better me come out.
That's it.
So better you right now. If you surrender to God.
And it's about being saved by His grace. And I'd like to come at grace from a different perspective today. You know, grace is unmerited favor. Grace is you can't do anything to earn it. But grace is also expressed in two other ways. Prophetic warnings and preparation instructions. God will give you grace by giving you a warning before it happens.
Always.
He says, "I'll let you know before it goes down."
I do nothing without telling my servants, the prophets. That's in the book of Amos.
And he said that, and I have to believe that. And so in me believing that, a prophetic warning, God told Noah what was coming. He said, what's coming is a terrible calamity in your lifetime. He had to trust. God spoke to Noah and he told him, "Listen, there's a calamity about to show up. And you've got to prepare for it." And then he told him, he gave him the instructions on what to do. When you go back and read that, he gave him specific instructions on what to do. And when he gave him those instructions, his people thought that he was insane. People thought that he had lost it. People thought, "What are you talking about? A storm is coming. What are you talking about?" And I understand because I remember the season I went through where I could not keep it to myself. And I said, "What is happening?" And I felt out of my mind. Because I realized I was having to do something that I didn't want to do. I didn't want to teach that, be ready. I didn't want to do that because I knew it brought fear. But I had to fear God more and say, "God, I've trusted you this far. I'm going to be obedient. And I'm going to tell them, be ready."
Let me tell you something. It's real hard preaching to and teaching the party people. It's hard.
Yeah.
But people are having fun. Listen, there are people who call, at this point, you can go and tell somebody the truth about God, a truth about life, and they would actually think it's negativity.
Yeah.
Just because you don't feel good about it doesn't make it negativity.
Right.
And this is what we do. And so Noah had to go and preach to the party people. See, this is a true prophet. Prophets are not. John the Baptist had to go and tell Herod, "Listen, the king, you have no right to have your brother's wife like that." Now he lost his head because of it. But how many of us want to lose our head? We too busy trying to live life. And this is why, and when Jesus was talking to his disciples, preparing them for a world that he was no longer going to physically be in, he said, this thing going to be like the days of Noah. He went back to the days of Noah. What is it? People going to be marrying, getting married. Listen, all of this is going to be going on around people. And they gonna know what time it is, and that's why he could say to them. He said, "Listen, you can tell you know the signs of the seasons, but you can't get the signs of the time. You don't get that I am calling your spirit into elevation.
Right.
You don't get that when I call your spirit to increase, I am automatically telling you that your flesh must decrease. You don't get that's what time it is. Well, that's what time it is. It is time for the flesh and all of our conveniences in this natural world, they are decreasing. But the spirit is increasing if you are not in resistance to the spirit and you're not throwing up gang signs to the truth.
Clapping back.
Right. And so to the truth because it doesn't make you feel good. No. Love and pain. Sunshine, rain. It is both. Yin and yang. It is both. But what's bigger than all of that? God, you are sovereign. Right. You are sovereign. And in this life, I am not storing up something for this life. I am depositing in this life. I am sowing seeds for this life. So that when I leave, your reason for sending me here will not leave with me. I will not take to the grave the forgiveness that you gave me, you showed me, Father. The love that you showed me, Father. The correction that you showed me, Father. That was still love. Listen, a father who loves his son disciplines his son. So, God, you were judging me, but you were not condemning me.
Right.
Jesus, Lord, you will judge me, but that judgment was never meant to lead to condemnation, but to deliverance from whatever has taken me captive. And right now, you want to know what is taking you captive because you guess what? You confined into a space.
Last night, that's a great point. We were studying. You were writing in your journal book or something. You was writing your notes. I was sitting on the couch and I was reading on my Noah notes that I took years ago. And as I was reading it, I also began to play a song by and who's that song by? The song is by
I know Stevie Wonder sings Everything Must Change.
No, not that one. That was not that one. And I read the scripture where it says Noah was a just, righteous man, blameless in his evil generation. Noah walked habitually in fellowship with God. Genesis 6.
Right there.
And so he was walking in a culture where they had turned to their flesh, they had turned to their lust, they had turned to their greed, they had turned to sex, they had turned to their the orgies, all these different things, and he had to choose to be blameless in the generation.
But can I share something?
Keep going. Come on.
You mind? I want you to hear the word habitual fellowship. You know what it means to walk in habitual fellowship? It means to stop arguing in the middle of an argument. It means not to try to get your point over the peace of God. It means that your goal for doing what you're doing is to win your brother over and not not to punish and to hurt. Even if it hurts and punishes, that's not. Let me phrase that. Even if it hurts, it's not your intention. So to walk in habitual fellowship with God is a moment by moment situation. There's so many things that I would change. Habitual fellowship. Deron sat to have this broadcast to go a certain way. Spent hours yesterday. Everybody working everything out. Guess what? Some things didn't work. He could have kept trying and put things on hold. But I can hear him say on a regular basis, on more than one, I'm gonna try. Okay, that's it. I gotta move forward because habitual fellowship means at some point you're not gonna fight to have it your way.
Right.
If God shows you another way, if life shows you another way to do it, which we're doing right now,
right,
then guess what? You walk in habitual fellowship. It's your habit. You want to be in fellowship with God.
Right.
See, every time I hold on to something against you, I break fellowship with the Creator.
Right.
Every time I choose not to forgive you because I make my hurt my deity, and I serve and surrender my best efforts to my hurt versus my best efforts to my Creator, guess what I do? I break fellowship.
Right.
This is all about habitual connection, breath to breath with the Father. Right. This is what this all is leading to. But every time you held on to something, if you're going to gospel today, you're going to break fellowship. You're going to break fellowship because whoever you gossiping about is the creation of the Creator. And each of us know if you're an artist and you paint, if you're an actor and you act, if you're a parent, listen, you did your best job. And this is the piece of art that you created. Somebody created this. Somebody created this face. I ain't paying much for it from somewhere, like $10. But somebody created this. But what's the truth? What if I went in front of them and trashed this creation? What if I just trashed it with my gossip? What if I said things about it that wasn't true, wasn't factual? It's just rumor and it's hot topics. What if I did that? I would break fellowship. Why? Because the one that created this right here loved this, and it came from them, and it was a good part of them, and they were proud of this.
Right.
So the minute I start not giving wisdom coming from God, but when I begin to apply the stuff, my old Negro wisdom, and the stuff I done got from the hood, and the way the hood talks, when I do that, I insult the creator of this thing.
Right.
Habitual fellowship will keep you from talking about certain things, and definitely talking about things that you don't have the facts on.
That's it.
And talking about them for the wrong reason. Wrong reason means to hurt and not to build up.
There you go.
Even if it does hurt, you should be trying to build up.
By faith, Noah being warned of God of things not yet seen, things not seen as yet, moved with fear, and prepared the ark to the saving of his house. Where you reading that? Right here. By
faith, Noah, being warned of God of things not seen as yet, moved with fear. Don't make sense. As yet, moved with fear. Yes, it's like reference. Prepared an ark to the saving of his house.
Let me stop right there. He tapped in, and it says, and when he built it, which he condemned the world and became heir of the righteousness,
which is by faith.
Mm-hmm. So now let me just go through this. Faith means so be it. When you have faith, and the ancients took faith out of seeing the fish, and that meant to always be in action. Noah's name meant rest and comfort. Noah's name means rest and comfort. By faith he believed God, but he could not have been comfortable. God told him to prepare something the people had never seen. And so when he told him to do that, he had to take courage because he was going to have to speak something. Last night I was telling Jill, she said, what are you reading? I said, I'm reading about Noah. And you brought up, you want to look at the movie or something like that? And I was already planning to do that. And so I was glad that you said that. And I said, that's why I responded and said, well, I was just getting ready to try to find out if there are any new Noah movies out there. Because I've seen all of them. And sure enough, we pulled up Prime Video. And we typed in the word Noah. And there was a movie called Noah's Ark. Mm-hmm. And we had seen the Russell Crowe one years ago. But I said, okay, let's watch this one. We watched it. And I'm here to tell you, I was in tears. I was in tears because they were able to capture a relationship with God, like the woman who wrote, and I'm going to remember her name, the woman who wrote Harriet Tubman, the movie, where she had to capture Harriet leaning on God, following God's voice, even in the midst of her own trouble and her own seizures and all this stuff. And it was a beautiful scene in Harriet where she realized they was going to have to cross this lake, this river. They was going to have to cross it, but they didn't know how to swim. They didn't know anything how to do that. And she went down and she realized she was going to have to be the first to go. And she walked across that. And that scene had me in tears because I understood what the writer was trying to communicate. Is she had to put her hands up and believe God.
And go along. Against what other people thought.
Yep. And because they were all in fear. And when you understand what a lake is, it's different levels. Mm-hmm. And because sometimes it can drop, it can move, it can do this. I literally knew, I said, this is faith to walk across this lake and be the first because the other people were in fear.
Right.
And then they followed.
Right. And she didn't know if how deep, as you said, it's different levels. Mm-hmm. She didn't know how deep it was going to go. But I'll use that to say one of the things that you said in this that Noah thing that you should read about Noah. It said because Noah did just follow God for himself, he condemned the world. Right. Now go look up that word condemned, right? Go look behind that word because it may not mean the kind of condemnation that you know. You have to do some research because translators use a language different from the original language. So you do a little research. Sometimes it's not the condemned as you see it. But anyway, if he condemned or judged the world, so to speak, guess what? It was hard to run. See, when you decide that you're going to be one of those, it ain't about me, mm-hmm. kind of God servants, you condemn the world. They're going to attack you.
I understand what you mean.
See, Noah's behavior, just his choice to follow God, actually condemn the world. Those people who was watching, you don't have to condemn. I don't have to say you're going to hell. All I got to do is follow God and do the right thing. And that light burns. Mm-hmm. That light burns and that light exposes the darkness. And then people fight against you. So it says with that, because we saw the movie too, mm-hmm. that you condemn the world. Before you know it, folks don't want to hear that. Folks want to hear God got a plan for my life.
Right.
Well, and they don't want to hear me say, no, the problem is that you got a plan for God. And you got such a plan for God that God don't get to have a plan for your life. Y'all speaking negativity. No, that's true. Right. That's true. And there is a war on truth. I don't take it personally. I don't like the way it feels.
Right.
But I also don't take it personally because I go to God and get filled up in praying to God. But the bottom line is you condemn the world. Don't nobody want to condemn the world. Y'all want people to tell you, go give you some other kind of gospel and tell you why you talking like this. This is what everybody else is saying. This ain't never been about popularity. This has been about a remnant if it has to be that. Mm-hmm. It can be about a small group of people. But the bottom line is you're going to condemn the world and you may not like it because they're not going to like you.
I know what this feels like. And when I saw that movie, they captured what he had to go through.
Right.
Because I was being accused of preaching a different gospel when I was telling people, listen, he's going to crack the sky. And we're going to see something in our lifetime that none of us have ever seen. This was in 2008, and then 2010, and then 2011. And each time I did it, I had to do something that I did not want to do because I wanted to do my plays. But God said, speak. And can I tell you, you reap what you sow. Because I'm so glad that I spoke the truth. Because I didn't know that 15 years later or whatever, people were going to come back to me and be able to say, praise God. I am ready. I am prepared. My mind, I didn't talk about just food. I talked about you've got to get your mind prepared to handle these shift storms. S-H-I-F-T. Shift storms. You got to handle these things. And you got to know when God speaks, his grace comes through prophetic warnings and preparations and instructions. And listen, if you go against that, you are a fool. Go ahead.
Listen, this is what Ezekiel understood. If you know the right thing to say to somebody and God puts in your heart to say it and you don't do it, their blood is on your hands. See, I'm not on groundless water. I get the foundation. Mm-hmm. The foundation is, God, if you have given me this word to get me out of something, then I am to love you all the way he loved me. And sometimes, and oftentimes, the way God loved me was with truth. It was with truth. He didn't bend it. It was with truth. So I don't bend it. Now, here's another thing that I know that I had to learn. And it was in Titus. And it says, listen, warn a divisive man twice. So when I did have to get my footing, is that I got so caught up in someone not doing what I thought it would take to make their life better. I want to find 10 ways to tell them. God said, no. The same way you obeyed me in Ezekiel with that principle, obey that principle in Titus. Warn a divisive person twice. How you know they're divisive? Because you tell them the word of God, not your words. You show them in scripture, right? From the letter of the spirit of the law, not the letter of the law. You show them what God said. And if they don't care what thus said the Lord, not you, not the way you interpreted it. I'm talking about the message from God. If they don't care to surrender attitude, if they don't care to forgive, if they don't care to stop lying and cheating, if they don't care. After the 2 times, what Paul said is, he told those people, they are self-condemned. They are bringing judgment on themselves. So you are free once you warn that person. But what did God have to teach this person? After you have gone in my strength, Jill, not yours, in my strength, your strength surrendered to me, in my strength, in my grace, and in my truth. Not Jill's grace, not Jill's truth, and not Jill's truth, strength. You go and you share. This happens a lot in marriage with Ron and I. I share something to Ron. This is what I think. I'm a God principle person. Here's how I see it in scripture in terms of the message from God. And if he doesn't want to do it right now, because sometimes that spirit don't leave right away. We get a little resistance from that unclean thing that we've been walking around with and familiar with. Guess what? I leave him alone. What was my job, God? I plant, I water. Only God can make things grow. I stopped trying to make it grow. That's where I erred. I didn't err in not caring.
Right.
I didn't err in being angry at people as people thought. I don't like the evil that is got you bound and stealing from the blessings that the kingdom will receive if you were loose. I didn't like that, but I cannot love that more than I love God.
Right.
And that was my problem. So now come 2016, 17, 18, folks trying to get me to say things. You don't care. Oh, I care. I learned. I grew. I told you twice. You don't want to do it, and I don't have to say you don't want to do it. You know what? God don't like ugly. You ain't got to go and attack nobody like that. Trust the loving God to draw all men to him, and he will do it. He will do it, and you do not have to wreck yourself and lose sight of your habitual fellowship because you don't want no blood on your hands, which was true. I don't want the blood on my hand, Ron, but I still want habitual fellowship. So now guess what? I am no longer, you said extremes. I'm no longer at that extreme. God has brought me to a balanced middle, and I now know how to not bring my anxiety for your life into your life before you are ready to value your own life.
Right.
Can't value you more than you value yourself. I get myself in trouble. Right. And that's what I did for the longest time.
I found myself fussing at the TV when I looked at it. Then I just said, I'm just going to read my articles. But I found myself because I began to watch certain behavior. And I said, oh, my goodness, Father. Because I said, God, what is my response? What should the church's response be? And once we end up having not to be able to meet and do all these things, and even before then, I began to realize that people had decided, ain't nobody got time for this. I'm not following what everybody's saying. I ain't doing none of that kind of stuff. He who hates correction is simple, stupid. That's Proverbs. And I realized that what was happening when I learned that we all go to zero at the same time. I realized that there are some of us who have decided, I'm going to live my life. I'm going to do it the way I want to do it. Which means that if you're not crazy, you are being a covidiot. Covidiot. C-O-V-I-D-I-O-T. Covidiot. And what does that mean today? Is someone who stubbornly ignores social distancing, the protocols set out, washing your hands, putting on hand sanitizer, making sure that you have protective gear, standing 5-6 feet apart from one another. We're being told there's a plague that's on the land. Mm-hmm. We're being told that a plague has been released on the land. And if you're a COVIDiot, you ignore what is being said because you want to stay in your rebellion. You want to stay in your anger. And I told a brother one day, I said, brother, the only way you overcome this kind of foolishness in your own personal life is to make sure that you don't allow it to cause it to harm some other people. But you must know that some people are in denial. And when you're a COVIDiot, you choose to look the other way because, as you said, Jill, you don't want truth. But let me give you a truth. Choose not to follow the protocols like some people have done. And you're going to find out that you're going to contribute to somebody's serious illness and suffering because you chose not. I ain't going to be washing my hands all like that. These people don't know what they talking about. You better get prepared to experience some people dying.
Right. And when you do that, I want you to hear, you're not just affecting one person. You're affecting everybody that loves them.
Yep.
Everybody that knows them.
Yep.
You understand? When you go and decide, I'm doing this and this one person I heard, no. Everybody that's connected to that person has now been affected. Mm-hmm. Because of that. You know, this is what the Bible would tell us in situations like this, in times of uncertainty, when Jesus said to his disciples, he said, the spirit is willing, it's the flesh that's weak.
Right.
It's your flesh. So inside in you somewhere, your spirit is willing, but if you keep feeding, if the flesh is stronger and more fortified than the spirit, because of the diet, you've been doing more of the building more of the natural kingdom, the kingdom here instead of the kingdom that's within. Then what will happen is when it comes time to go into battle, the flesh is going to win because it is what has the strength and is what has gotten all your attention and your devotion.
Listen, to my brothers and sisters who are going through, including me too, listen to me. If your eyes are wide open to the Spirit, this season has an offering in it.
Yes, indeed.
If your eyes are wide open to the Spirit, this season has an offering in it. If you are open to the truth, if your eyes are wide open, you will decide that, you know what, there's something in it. And that's when you're going to find out there's opportunity. Opportunity to discover something about ourselves.
Right.
This is showing us what we're made of. And it's going to show some of us what we're made of and what we got worked, what we have not worked on.
Absolutely.
And it's going to show us where we are deficient.
Right.
I said earlier, and I've always thought about this because I've had to minister to veterans who come back after serving in war. Mm-hmm. And when they serve in war, they've had such a traumatic experience that when they come back, they're different people. But not on top of that, my friends and I knew, if we kept seeing when some of them came back, if the relationship wasn't intact before they left, when they came back, they didn't have the ability to work on it or do whatever because they were being distracted by all of the different energies. Well, you have to understand that if you're not careful, they were living in disappointment, living in the regret, living in anger, living in fear. But this is a season where God is trying to show us where we're stuck and what we need to do to grow. Go ahead.
Right. I used to eat ice, right?
You're right.
I used to eat ice. And I was eating ice and I knew that the ice was because of a deficiency. And this is the spirit of trying to say to me, you are deficient. That's how my body was speaking to me. You are deficient. Your spirit speaks to you in a certain way too. And it will do it in these times like this. You will find out if you are deficient in patience. You'll find out if you're deficient in shame. You'll find out if you're deficient in courage. Patience, love. You'll find out if you're deficient in courage, because you will find yourself walking in shame and going through all those things that are identifiers that you don't have a certain amount of courage. But I'm saying, thank you. So I'm saying that to you for this reason. You know, I did the work when I had a deficiency. I responded to the ice, but listen, I like that ice. I'm telling you, my friends Gail Cox would tell you, but by this time I am so on the ice tip that I know the certain stores that have crushed ice. So I would tell Gail, I'm going over here to get my gas because they got good ice. That's good gas at a gas station because they have good ice. But I'm telling you this for a reason. I know some people who eat ice. And I told them, you know, this ice means that you're eating this ice like that. There's some kind of deficiency. Now, what's causing the deficiency? It could be fibroids. It could be all those things that are taking nutrients from your body. When people are pregnant, oftentimes they want to eat ice because there's something trying to live off of them. There's something trying to live off of you. You know what these people say? I know, but I just like it. This is how we are in the spirit. We got so accustomed to abnormal. And abnormal has so fashioned itself to fit us so well that we don't sense it, that we actually decide, I'm going to keep it like this. Mm-hmm. Because I like ice. But you eating that ice is telling you that something more severe is going on. You're lightheaded, you got headaches. You want to know why you can't study well? Because blood ain't making it to your brain like you're supposed to. Because the iron ain't flowing and giving you the nutrition like it's supposed to. So now you're dizzy. You're going to go through all of that when you give up the ice. But guess what? The same way we don't listen to our bodies, Deron, we're not really listening to the spirit at times. And what we're trying to say to you is, if the spirit is revealing to you in this time while you are not, okay, I'm going to call it sick and shut in. You shut in, but now your sicknesses are being exposed. Listen, do not avoid that. Pay attention to it, and what's that you said about an offering? Pay attention to it, and so that you can offer yourself to the world when it's all as new and improved.
I know my father, my natural father, taught me how to look, because he is a lawyer, and he taught me how to dissect truth and break truth down, and my mother too, how to look at truth and break it down. And see lies, and how to look at media and all these different things. Mm-hmm. Listen, you must understand that it's not by accident that the entire world was saying in the last, I mean, you probably don't know, winter is coming. It was a television show, I can't remember the name, Game of Thrones. Okay. And on that show, it was about what was on its way. Winter was coming. Mm-hmm. But wisdom said to me, Deron, there's a reason why the world is saying winter is coming. They're not just putting this out so that it's in our psyche. Winter is coming. Winter is coming. And that's why he said in the word, make sure that when you flee, you don't flee in the winter.
Right. That it doesn't happen in winter.
That it doesn't happen in winter. And so I have been watching this, and I had to make some decisions. 3 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I had to decide, Deron, you're going to have to self-isolate. Mm-hmm. I had to make a decision. Deron, you're going to have to stay away. And I was sitting in my meditation chair, and I began to cry. Mm-hmm. I think I did text a couple of my friends and tell them, I hate this. Mm-hmm. But I'm not going to be able to physically touch my granddaughter right now. And I've got to choose this, although they haven't put us in this space yet. Mm-hmm. I've got to be in this space because I got to deal with truth. And so I've been watching, and God tells me to say, listen, are you seriously going to visit your senior citizen parent? Are you seriously going to visit and going into people's houses and saying, well, we're just playing a card game. This is my friend. Are you seriously going, sister, are you seriously hanging out and looking for other ways to be able to enjoy yourself and saying, but we just going to be careful a little bit. Are you simple? Listen to me. Brother, how long will you rebel and remain bitter and tainted and kick against the gold and not understand this is a pandemic? You must understand that it's a panic that's going on. And there's a virus that's going through. And you don't have the leisure to be who you used to be. You don't have the leisure to do this. One more thing. A COVIDiot is someone who stubbornly ignores social distancing protocol and thus helps facilitate the virus and other people getting seriously ill because I still want to party. My daughter, go ahead. No, my daughter, I tried to get her to come over with my granddaughter and her father and everything, and I was going to give them the dirt that I had in the back of my yard plant some seed on her garden. And I thought I could slip it in there and not just get to see her one more time. And my daughter texted me night before last, right? Or was it last night?
It was last night. Last
night, and she said, Dad, I don't want you to be in Zuri's presence and in our presence. She said, She said, because of your situation, and she spoke truths in the text of the situation. She said, because of your situation, you can't do it. And at that point, I was glad that I had spoke truth to her, and I had taught her how to speak truth. Mm-hmm. Because she wasn't speaking to me as dad. She was telling me as a doctor and as a daughter who was concerned.
Mm-hmm. Who knows things.
Who knows things. She said, you can't do it. And I just cried because I said, man, God, you jumped in again. Because I have no choice but to obey the truth.
And this is why telling the truth to somebody who wants to party, who still want to party, who still want to come and go. You know, it's important that you tell them the truth and then you back off. She didn't keep saying, promise me. No, she sent it. Mm-hmm. And the Spirit had opportunity to speak to your heart, and you had to yield to the Spirit and say, no, I'm not going to do it. It's not good for me to do.
Yeah, and I had to say, hey, you're 1,000% correct. And that's when I said, and that's when Wisdom said, and this is why you're going to talk about being a COVIDiot tomorrow. Mm-hmm. I actually did a broadcast. I ain't did a Saturday night broadcast. Mm-hmm. But he said, you're going to have to talk about it. Mm-hmm. Because it was in my heart in turn to talk about it. But I just didn't want to start nothing. I didn't want to start nothing.
Listen, I want to be a COVIDiot right now. You know why? Because I have nails, gel dip nails. I was so busy doing other stuff, I forgot.
You what? You forgot?
I forgot to go and let the professionals drill this stuff off. This is the dip. This is the dip. So it's half acrylic, half gel. Anybody, they know the truth. I wanted to be a COVIDiot the other day. I started calling around.
Really?
I've been Googling this house visits. Is anybody doing this out at home? But see, that would still make me a COVIDiot because I don't want to go in anybody's. I don't care how much you tell me you cleaning. I don't know who you've been around. And I can't bring that back here to my reality. See, this is what Deron said, opportunities, possibilities. So I'm telling you, while other people are trying to figure things out, I'm trying to figure out how am I going to get these nails up. One of them chipped because I hit something and I said, they flipping because it's time. And I said, I can't find a place to go get these nails on. Guess what I did? I went on Amazon.com. This is for anybody who want to know. And I went and I have coming here soon a whole kit on how I'm going to get these nails off.
Wow.
A dip. Guess what? This is the time you have to learn to do things yourself.
Back to basics.
Back to basics. Listen, my girlfriend, she does hair. Guess what? There's a little bit of meltdown going on. You know, folks that used to doing their own weave. Listen, they asked her, can you come do house calls? Her husband said, oh, in the words of his really using hell to the no. But I understand that see, we got all kinds of panics from these conveniences. So I'm gonna sport these. My little stuff was supposed to come in yesterday, but Amazon packages ain't coming when they say it's supposed to. Guess what? I gotta learn to do this myself. And I'm not gonna do it like them, but I'm gonna get these things off. But guess what? God, I wanted to be a COVIDiot. I really did.
And I understand your pain
And it wasn't pain, but it's going to be pain.
No, it's
while we get
pain.
these things off.
Listen, well, let me say, I understand your pain because I went with you to that nail salon to get them to
Fix a cracked nail.
And she said, do you want that? And would you like this?
And the person convinced him.
And told me, I can take care of it.
And did all of his nails.
And did my nails, wrapped them with aluminum foil, and my wife was in the back, and they wrapped with aluminum foil.
No, the foil was when you was going to take it off.
Yeah.
When I was in the back, I would have told her, do not put acrylic on all his nails.
She was trying to get that money.
She got that money.
She got that money. And so now I'm sitting here and I'm saying,
now it's time to take it off.
I said, wait a minute. What just happened? What is going on?
So he's in there with all us women with all that aluminum foil on his fingertips. Y'all know what that looked like, right?
And I'm telling you, I was like, I can't believe this. So when I say I feel your pain, when you say you got to get the nails off, because I had to go get them off. And you told me there when she put it on, well, it's going to be something when you take it off. But I had no idea. I now appreciate what you sisters go through. I didn't know she had to pull out a drill. She had to do something and dust was all over the freaking place. And I was like, wait a minute. And she had to hold my hand and do it. She's trying to do some massage. I was like, I don't care. Get this off my hand. So that's what I mean. I feel your pain because I didn't like that.
And he talked about that thing the whole time, messed up the experience of everybody in there. I said, I'm ready to go buy a drill myself.
I feel it right
take his
now.
nails off. I'm ready to go and learn this. Give me a quick course of taking off nails for dummies so I can get this off because you are messing up the experience because he is in the front of everybody. I had no idea. Nobody came in. They came here to get away from their husbands. Like come here to hear.
I just couldn't believe here I was that had nails just like my wife.
Hey.
I couldn't believe it.
And the cuticle part grew out, so he thought something strange was happening.
Yeah, that's what Yeah, because then all of a sudden, I said, Jill, my nail is separating from my finger. I
told you that was going to happen.
Oh my goodness, it was such a horrific experience. It was horrific.
That's the end of taking this one into that room. Oh, he won't even.
Oh, you ain't got to worry about it. I got my own little nail hardener thing because I had the crack thing. Because I told my counselor, and she said, well, you can get nail hardener. And I said, there's such thing as nail hardener? She said, yeah. I said, okay. Because I said, I'm not going through that no more. But now, guess what? I had to make the adjustments and do what I had to do. And so therefore, listen, y'all, go through what you got to go through. Feel what you got to feel. Feel what you got to feel.
Take some responsibility for the things that you were going to have to do that you didn't have to do at first. Take some responsibility.
Here's what I'd like to. She told you. This is what we'll close out with. She told you. Where is it at? Come on,
what you want to do?
I got it. Yeah.
It's down here. I saw it.
You saw it?
Yes, I did.
Where?
Saw it. Just keep going. Keep going. It's going to come here. Right here.
Cool.
The original prayers.
Okay. Listen. What was I just talking about? I can't remember.
You just said this was you were going to go to, and you said she told you, and then you said you was going to go to.
Yeah. And so, here's what I've had to do. No, I was getting ready to broadcast today. And I worked, as you said, 4 hours yesterday preparing, and even 2 hours, an hour and a half this morning. Mm-hmm. And then they said you can't do it. We couldn't do it, and so I had to just do it like I normally do it. But I had to make a decision. Let me move forward.
Not your way.
It ain't working right now. Let me move forward. Mm-hmm. Because I had to put in my spirit the prayer of serenity, which is the prayer of peace. Mm-hmm. Let's read this together. And sure. let me go here. Okay. Let me do this right here. Then I can see it. There you go. Let's read this together. Go.
God give us the grace to accept with serenity the things that cannot be changed. Courage to change the things which should be changed. And the wisdom to distinguish the one from the other. Living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, accepting hardship as a pathway to peace, taking, as Jesus did, this sinful world as it is, not as I would have it, trusting that you will make all things right,
if I surrender to your will, so that I may be reasonably happy in this life and supremely happy with you forever in the next. Amen. You have got to look up the original prayer of serenity and find peace. Don't give in to your addictions. Don't give in to all of your stuff. Find peace. God had to show me, Jill, when every time I kept going to the refrigerator, getting something. God said, Deron, you just expect food to be here. You just expect things to be here. You just expect it. I got so mad. I had been trying to get Uber Eats for the longest and they wouldn't deliver. But now all of a sudden they want to deliver. But I can't get it now.
No, you're not.
I can't get it.
No.
I ain't going to be no go. And listen, like you, I said, well, maybe I can go to get a nice, I said, Deron, you can't do it.
It's nothing against the restaurants. It's nothing against the good service I received over the years. But I refuse to be a COVIDiot.
Everything must change. Nothing remains the same. Winter turns to, what is it? Summer turns.
Winter turns to spring. I only know that because...
Oh, I got it right here because I got it. Come on.
Okay.
Everything must change. Nothing stays the same. Everyone must change. Nothing stays the same. The young become the old. Mysteries do unfold because that's the way of time. Nothing and no one goes unchanged. There are not many things in life you can be sure of, except rain comes with the clouds, the sun lights up the sky, and hummingbirds do fly. Winter turns to spring. The wounded heart will heal. Never much too soon. Everything must change. The young become the old. Mysteries do unfold because that's the way of time. Nothing and no one goes unchanged. There are not many things in life that you can be sure of, except rain comes from the clouds, and sun lights up the sky, and hummingbirds do fly. Hey, listen, everything must change. Accept it.
If we're going to live.
If we're going to live. Everything must change. Father, bless the word that we have ministered today. And we thank you that the church will continue. We pray for the other churches as well, God. And I thank you that you will allow us to be able to continue to be the church of the Lord's disciples, the soul factory.
True worshipers.
The true worshipers. And Father, I pray that even financially we'll be able to keep things going in the midst of everybody being challenged. Bless this word, God. Bless other people's finances, Father. Give them witty ideas and inventions. And I thank you for the peace of mind. And I thank you for not taking my gift from me. That even in the midst of my trial, the gifts and the calls of God are irrevocable. And I thank you for raising us up for this time. Father, we pray that we ministered your will according to your way. In Yeshua's name. All those in agreement said, amen.
Amen. Amen.